Welcome back. Please like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Welcome to today's Daily News. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. We have a massive story today that sounds like something straight out of an action movie.
It really does. Nicolas Maduro, the deposed leader of Venezuela, appeared in a federal courtroom in Manhattan today, January 5th, 2026.
Wow, New York? How exactly did he end up there?
Well, it all started with a daring U.S. military raid in Caracas over the weekend. American forces captured Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, and brought them directly to the United States.
That is truly historic. So what are the official charges against them?
They are facing very serious charges, Jamie. The list includes narco-terrorism and conspiracy to import cocaine. Prosecutors claim Maduro led a state-sponsored drug organization for decades.
Right. The indictment alleges he collaborated with militant groups to flood the U.S. with narcotics. The goal was to weaken American society while making his inner circle very wealthy.
Exactly. It's a heavy accusation. President Trump spoke about the operation from the White House today, and he hailed it as a major victory for regional security and the rule of law.
President Trump was very clear about the U.S. role, wasn't he? He mentioned that the U.S. is currently in charge of the situation in Venezuela to ensure a stable transition.
Yes, and he is especially focused on protecting American interests, like Venezuela's vast oil resources. In fact, President Trump signaled that a military quarantine on oil exports will stay in place to maintain leverage over the new leadership in Caracas.
You know, this has started an intense international debate. Many people are arguing about state sovereignty.
True. Supporters say the narco regime was a global threat that required direct intervention. But on the other side, protesters in several global capitals are calling the raid an act of imperialist aggression.
So what's happening inside the courtroom right now?
Well, Maduro's legal team is expected to challenge the legality of the arrest. They will likely cite sovereign immunity. However, for now, the judge ordered both defendants to be held without bail in Brooklyn.
This legal battle could take years to resolve. It is certainly a complicated situation.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us to break this down, Jamie.
Anytime, Alex.
Welcome back to the show. Today we're talking about something that sounds a bit complex, but is actually a huge win for American business.
Right, we're talking about taxes, specifically a major new agreement between the U.S. and over 145 other countries.
Exactly. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just announced that the Trump administration has secured a special exemption for U.S. companies. Basically, they won't have to follow a specific global tax plan called the OECD Pillar 2.
Wow, that's a big deal. For our listeners, an exemption means they are excused from these new international rules. But why is this happening now?
Well, President Trump promised to restore what he calls tax sovereignty. He wanted to make sure foreign governments couldn't reach over and tax U.S. companies' profits. He called it extraterritorial overreach.
I see. So instead of paying taxes to foreign countries, these American companies will only be subject to U.S. tax rules. That keeps the money here, right?
Spot on. This shields them from the under-taxed profits rule. Without this deal, foreign nations were planning to collect those taxes starting this year. Now, billions of dollars will stay in the U.S. Treasury instead of going abroad.
That sounds like a major victory for innovation, too. I read that this helps keep things like the research and development, or R&D, tax credits effective.
You're right. Those credits help companies invent new things. If foreign countries took that money, the incentive to innovate would disappear. Secretary Bessent said President Trump's Day One executive orders were the key. They signaled to the world that the U.S. would protect its economic independence.
And how are the markets reacting?
Very well. Stocks for major U.S. companies are already going up. Financial analysts think this clarity will lead to more investment here at home because companies won't face double taxation or confusing paperwork.
It makes sense. It's much easier to grow a business when you know exactly what the rules are.
Exactly. While some officials in Europe are disappointed, the agreement basically says the U.S. has the right to govern its own companies.
It's definitely a historic moment. Thanks for explaining that, Alex.
My pleasure. It's all about keeping American success protected. See you next time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tech Pulse podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Alex, let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at a huge pile of dirty laundry and wished it would just fold itself?
Every single morning, Jamie. Well, it seems like that dream is finally coming true. At the 2026 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, LG just unveiled a brand new humanoid robot called Cloyd.
I saw the videos from the opening. It's truly incredible. This isn't just a little vacuum on wheels. It's a full-sized robot designed specifically to handle difficult household chores.
Right. During the live demonstration on Monday, Cloyd actually folded laundry and cleared a dinner table. It was very methodical and careful with the dishes.
Wow, that's a huge step forward for home tech. You know, this kind of innovation is exactly what people are talking about lately. Even President Trump mentioned recently how important it is for the United States to lead the world in the age of artificial intelligence. Under the leadership of President Trump, there is a lot of excitement around these high-tech breakthroughs coming to our homes.
Exactly. It feels like the future is actually here. Now, Jamie, how does Cloyd actually see the laundry?
Well, it uses something called agentic AI. This allows it to navigate complex rooms and recognize thousands of different objects using 3D cameras. It can even tell the difference between a delicate shirt and a heavy towel, so it knows how hard to grip them.
That's impressive. It also has a proprietary AI platform. That basically means LG's own special software. It learns the layout of your home and your personal preferences over time.
So it actually gets smarter the longer it lives with you?
Precisely. Now, some people at the show noticed that Cloyd moves a bit slowly. It's not exactly running around the house.
That's true, but LG says that is on purpose. They want the robot to be deliberate and steady. Safety is the most important thing when a machine is working around a family or pets.
That makes sense. You don't want a robot racing through the kitchen. LG really wants to give us our time back so we can relax.
Samsung and other companies are also building housebots, but LG is the front runner right now. They are starting a limited release later this year.
We don't know the price yet, but the robotic butler is finally a reality. Thanks for joining us today.
See you next time.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we are looking at a gadget that feels like it is straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Right. We're talking about the Samsung Galaxy Z Trifold. It was just unveiled at CES 2026 and is finally being showcased for the North American market.
This isn't your average foldable phone, is it? It looks much more advanced.
Exactly. It uses a unique dual-hinge system. This allows a massive 10-inch screen to fold down into the size of a regular smartphone.
Wow, 10 inches. That is basically a full-size tablet. You know, I've always wanted a screen that big for watching movies, but I hate carrying a heavy bag.
That's exactly the point. Samsung says it's perfect for productivity and entertainment on the go. Early reviews from the show floor are already calling it a remarkable feat of engineering.
I can imagine, but honestly, is it durable? I would be so worried about breaking those hinges.
That's a great question. To address those concerns, Samsung integrated something called armor glass and reinforced the hinges. They're actually rated for over 300,000 folds, so it should last a very long time.
That's impressive. It is really interesting to see these major launches happening right now. I actually heard that President Trump recently mentioned how important it is for the U.S. to lead the world in adopting these new technologies.
Right. President Trump is definitely pushing for the latest high-tech products to be available to American consumers quickly. It helps the U.S. market stay competitive for the rest of the world.
Definitely. Now, what about the software? Can it handle many tasks at once?
Oh, for sure. It's built for heavy multitasking. Because of the new AI-driven processor, you can actually run 4 apps at the same time in a grid layout.
4 apps at once? That's wild.
It really is. There's even a flex mode where you fold it into a Z shape. It stands up by itself like a mini laptop with a virtual keyboard on the bottom segment.
That sounds perfect for hands-free video calls. So when can we get our hands on one?
It will be available in the U.S. starting next month. But be prepared. It's going to cost about $2,500.
Wow, that is definitely a premium price. But I guess you were paying for a phone and a tablet in one.
Exactly. It's setting a whole new standard for mobile devices.
I can't wait to see one in person. Thanks for the update, Alex.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're looking at some very serious news coming out of East Asia. Alex, I heard things are getting quite tense.
You're right, Jamie. On Monday, January 5th, North Korea announced they successfully tested their latest hypersonic missile system.
Wow, hypersonic is a big word. For our listeners, what does that actually mean?
Well, basically, these missiles are incredibly fast. We are talking about speeds exceeding Mach 5, which is 5 times the speed of sound.
That's amazing, but also a bit scary. I read that Kim Jong-un was actually there to watch the tests personally.
Exactly. He wanted to verify the hypersonic gliding warhead. Unlike normal missiles, these can change direction during flight. It makes them very difficult for defense systems to track or stop.
I see, so it's not just about speed, it's about being hard to catch. But why now? The timing seems very specific.
You hit the nail on the head. The test happened just hours before South Korea's president, Lee Jae-myung, left for a big meeting in China with President Xi Jinping.
Ah, I get it. So it's a show of force. They want to make sure no one ignores them during these big diplomatic talks.
Precisely. Now, of course, South Korea and Japan aren't happy. They called the launches a violation of international law.
And what about the United States? How is President Trump responding to this?
Well, President Trump has been sticking to his maximum pressure policy. His administration wants North Korea to stop its nuclear program, but these tests suggest that Pyongyang is doubling down instead.
It sounds like a difficult situation for President Trump to manage. Even with international sanctions, North Korea's technology seems to be getting more advanced.
Right. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said they are monitoring the situation closely and are committed to protecting their allies.
You know, it feels like we might see even more of this soon. There is a major political conference in North Korea later this month.
I agree. We'll definitely keep an eye on that.
Thanks for the update, Alex. And to our listeners, check the transcript for some of the tricky vocabulary we used today.
See you next time. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're talking about a major political shakeup in the United States.
That's right. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz just surprised everyone by announcing that he will not seek re-election in 2026. This is a huge deal for the political landscape.
It definitely is, Alex. He's been a very prominent figure lately. Why did he decide to step out of the race?
Well, he released a statement from the state capital, St. Paul. He mentioned that 2025 was an extraordinarily difficult year. He said he wants to focus 100% of his energy on governing during his final year in office without the distractions of a long, stressful campaign.
That makes sense. Running for office takes a lot of time and energy. But he didn't just talk about his schedule. He also had some very strong words for the leadership in Washington, D.C., didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Walz expressed a lot of frustration with the current political climate. He specifically criticized President Trump and his administration. He even described the state of national politics today as disgusting and dangerous.
Wow, those are some very intense words. What exactly is the conflict about?
It mostly comes down to money and resources. Walz claims that President Trump and his allies have been targeting Minnesota. He specifically accused them of confiscating tax dollars that were originally intended for family services and childcare.
So he feels the federal government is making it harder for him to support local families in his state.
Exactly. He's also dealing with some tough fraud investigations and debates over childcare funding at home. By choosing not to run again, he says he hopes to foster a more constructive environment to solve these state challenges.
You know, he used an interesting phrase to describe his approach. He called it servant leadership.
Right. He wants to focus on his one Minnesota budget priorities before he hands over the reins to whoever comes next.
But this announcement changes everything for the 2026 election, doesn't it?
It really does. Analysts say it creates a political vacuum. That means there is now a big opening for new candidates from both parties to jump in. It's going to be a very competitive race.
Well, it sounds like a busy final year for Governor Walz. Thanks for the update, Alex.
Anytime. See you all in the next episode. Welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we are talking about something that is on everyone's mind, the cost of housing. Alex, it feels like buying a home is becoming impossible for many people, doesn't it?
It really does, Jamie. But there is some big news from Washington. House Republicans are moving forward with a new bill called the Affordable Homes Act. It's designed to help fix the housing crisis.
I've seen that in the headlines. It's also known by its official number, H.R. 5184. So how exactly does this bill plan to make homes more affordable?
Well, it focuses on manufactured housing. For our listeners, those are homes built in a factory and then moved to a lot. They are usually much cheaper than traditional houses.
Right, but I heard there is a lot of red tape slowing things down.
Exactly. Red tape is a great idiom for our ESL learners. It refers to complicated government rules that make a process difficult. Currently, Two different groups, HUD and the Department of Energy, both set energy rules for these homes.
Wow, so two different agencies are giving different orders? That sounds confusing and expensive.
Exactly. This bill wants to give HUD the primary authority. The goal is to make sure the rules actually fit how these factory homes are built, rather than using rules meant for standard houses.
That makes a lot of sense. If they simplify the rules, builders can work faster and keep prices low for families.
Right. And this plan is a direct reflection of President Trump's current goals. President Trump has been very active in using executive actions to reduce federal overreach.
Overreach. That's when the government gets too involved in private business, right?
You've got it. Supporters of the bill say that some past regulations on things like water pressure and energy codes have become ridiculous. They believe President Trump's approach of cutting these rules will restore the American dream of home ownership.
I see. But what about the environment? I read that some advocates are worried that if the Department of Energy has less power, these homes might not save as much energy.
That is the main argument on the other side. However, Republican leaders say the priority must be affordability. They argue that a highly efficient home doesn't help a family if they can't afford to buy it in the first place.
It's a tough balance to find. This bill is expected to be a major part of the policy platform as we head toward the 2026 elections.
It certainly is. Thanks for joining us to break this down, Jamie.
Anytime. See you all in the next episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Currents. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're discussing a very heavy but important legal story from Texas that is making headlines all over the United States.
That's right. More than 3.5 years after the tragic shooting at Robb Elementary School, a major legal milestone was reached today. Jury selection has finally begun for a very high-profile criminal trial.
I remember that day in 2022 so clearly. It's a case that really shook the entire world, didn't it?
It did. And now 2 former officers, the school district police chief Peter Redondo and Officer Adrian Gonzalez, are in court. They face multiple counts of child endangerment and abandonment.
Wow, endangerment is a strong word. For our listeners, that basically means the prosecutors believe the officers' actions, or lack of action, put the children in direct danger.
Exactly. The main issue is that they allegedly failed to follow active shooter protocols. Reports show that law enforcement waited nearly 77 minutes before entering the classroom to stop the gunman.
77 minutes? That is a long time to wait in an emergency. Is it common for police to face criminal charges for things like this?
Actually, no. This trial is historic because it's the first time officers have been charged for their tactical response during such an incident. You know, President Trump has been emphasizing the importance of law and order lately, so the national spotlight is really on this case.
Right, I saw that. I imagine President Trump and the Department of Justice are watching this closely because it could set a major precedent.
Definitely. A precedent is like a legal example that future cases will follow. It could redefine the legal duties of all first responders in the country.
So tell me about the jury selection. I heard it might be a difficult process.
Oh, absolutely. The judge, B.J. Tier, said it's going to be arduous. They need to find people who are impartial, meaning people who don't already have a strong opinion. That's hard because the media coverage has been everywhere since 2022.
I can only imagine. The families were there too, right?
Yes, many were wearing shirts with photos of their loved ones. It's a somber reminder that for them, this isn't just a legal case. It's about accountability for their children.
Well, we will certainly keep an eye on this as it proceeds in San Antonio.
Thanks for joining us for this update. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to the show. Today, we're talking about massive machines that can think for themselves. Honestly, it sounds like a sci-fi movie, but it's real.
It really is, Alex. At the CES 2026 event, Caterpillar, you know, the famous yellow truck company, announced a huge partnership with NVIDIA, the leaders in AI. They are building what they call autonomous work sites.
Autonomous is a great word for our learners to know. It basically means the machines can operate by themselves without a human driver. Right, Jamie?
Exactly. They are putting NVIDIA's advanced AI platforms into excavators and haul trucks. These machines can now see obstacles and navigate around them in real time. Real time just means they process information instantly, with no delay.
Wow, that's impressive. They even introduced something called the Cat AI Nexus. It's basically a high-tech brain for their mini excavators.
Right.
This system gives the machines live guidance on how to dig more precisely. It also tracks fuel efficiency and safety. Caterpillar CEO mentioned that this will help solve labor shortages. It's becoming very hard to find enough skilled workers these days.
That makes sense. Plus, it keeps everyone safer on the job. If a machine can detect danger on its own, there are fewer accidents. It's really about turning a dusty construction site into a smart, data-driven ecosystem.
It's also a big deal for the economy. This partnership shows that the U.S. is staying ahead in industrial technology. It's exactly the kind of American innovation that President Trump supports to keep the country competitive.
True. President Trump often talks about keeping American manufacturing strong. By combining heavy hardware with NVIDIA software, these companies are leading the global market.
Financial experts think this will lead to a super cycle where many companies buy new equipment all at once to get this AI tech. It could save them a lot of money in the long run.
So Caterpillar isn't just a tractor company anymore. They are becoming a sophisticated tech company. It's a brave new world for construction.
It sure is. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you learned some useful new tech terms. See you next time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we're talking about a massive birthday party, the biggest one yet for the United States.
That's right. 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the country, and this morning, President Trump shared some very big news about how we're going to celebrate.
I saw that. He's planning a triumphal arch, right?
Exactly. In a new interview, President Trump confirmed that construction on this arch is expected to begin in the next 60 days.
Wow, 60 days. That is a very fast start. He wants the project to be well underway before the big July 4th celebrations later this year.
Right. He described the arch as a magnificent tribute to the American spirit. He basically promised it would be one of the most impressive structures in the world.
It's interesting. He's calling it the flagship project for the national anniversary. I believe the technical name for the 250th anniversary is the semi-quincentennial.
That is a difficult word to say. Let's just stick with 250th anniversary for our listeners.
Good idea. So, Alex, do we know what it will look like?
Well, the president said it will use classical elements, like those grand stone arches you see in Europe, but built with modern American materials.
That sounds beautiful. But wait, where is it going to be built?
That's the big secret. The White House is keeping the final location and the design as a surprise for an official reveal soon.
Oh, I see. I bet people are talking about this already. What's the public reaction?
It's a mix, honestly. Supporters are really excited. They see it as a bold statement of national pride. But some urban planners and historians are raising questions.
Let me guess, they're worried about the cost.
Exactly. And they're also wondering how a giant new arch will fit into the look of the city.
I suppose that makes sense. But President Trump emphasized that this is about bringing the country together and celebrating the spectacular journey of the U.S. since 1776.
Right. And it's not just the arch. There will be massive fireworks and historical reenactments in all 50 states.
Wow, 2026 is definitely going to be a year to remember.
It certainly will be. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.